So cottagecore has become my new favorite thing. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically an aesthetic that has emerged out of TikTok where people like romanticize like country life. So it's like a lot of baking and doing like fake crops. And, you know, these are usually like, you know, 20 something, like early 20 something, 19-year-old Zoomers. And it's like, you've never lived on a farm. Come on, you bastard. Like, what are you doing? Like hanging around on a farm, like with flowers and shit. But it doesn't matter if there's any substance to it. The aesthetic is really beautiful and I'm into it. And it's made me want to become a trad wife. So you need to step it up, Jake, and start making more money so that I can become a cottagecore trad wife.
Well, you know, so I mean, there's a reason why men die younger than women statistically, and it's because of this sorts of pressure that the trad wife wants to put onto, you know, the man. And so, you know, feminism helps us all. That's all I'm going to say.
How did it devolve into incel rhetoric? The moment I mentioned trad wife,
I mean, the anti-society neoliberal program is essentially like the end goal is being an incel, is it not?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Being a mentally ill loner?
Yeah, being a mentally ill loner. I think the antidote to that is cottagecore.
Where we all go out to the country and dress like we're in Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, exactly. And eat strawberries. It's cute. But no, I honestly think that the fact that this aesthetic is now popular is it's reactionary in the sense that it's like, oh, if only we like we're simple folk on farms, then things would be better in the world or whatever. It's like the Tegrity, like the South Park, like Tegrity Farm
Tegrity Farms.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody just wants their like Tegrity Farm. And that whole like ethos is expressed in stuff like Animal Crossing and like Stardew Valley and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, yeah, everyone wants their integrity farm. But then again, I'm such a sucker for that kind of pathos. Like, I can't help it. Like, I still fall into the trap.
I was kind of going through like quite a lot of stress and just like angst about my life and stuff when I first discovered Stardew Valley. And the intro to that game nearly made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. Just like the whole way it opened with just everything, and you're just like, oh my god.
It was the granddad.
Yeah, like your granddad
you have
dies.
A job you hate.
Yeah,
in the city,
and it's just like this pixelated, like depressed guy hunched over this desk, and it's like, but then I remembered I have this letter from my granddad, and it's just like this like farm just waiting for you to go and do up and like.
I'm
this, like,
bequeathing to you a farm.
Why do you make yourself sound like a plantation owner?
Why, indeed, I have a farm I wish to bequeath upon you in my absence.
That's so dark. That's fucking dark. That's horrible.
He's got the big mustache. He's twirling it as he's dictating this letter to his... Well, at this point in time, it would be illegal for it to be the traditional arrangement that might be implied here. But employee, he's dictating it to his employee. Well, in my absence, somebody's going to need to take care of this farm.
I don't know, though, because I feel susceptible to it. And it's sad how so much of the emotional voids we're feeling get filled by this kind of simulacra, whether it be through the aesthetics that we see in the social media platforms that become popular, or through something like, you know, Animal Crossing, which I don't play it as often anymore, but like I was legitimately obsessed with it through early quarantine.
You use low society to like source a lot of
I turned myself into a bell girl, a bell e-girl.
Like in our promotional section of the end of the podcast, you were literally telling people to pay you in not just real money, but also in bells.
Yeah. And many did. I made some really lovely friends who came and visited Uwu Island, and they were like dropping bells and like balling. So shout out to all my lovely bell patrons. It sounds
like a rap song, dropping bells.
It should be a rap song.
I agree. Like somebody needs to make a rap song about Animal Crossing called Dropping Bells.
Needs to happen. But yeah, like I was legitimately obsessed with it, and it was kind of my Tegrity farm, and I put a lot of hours and like intention and like love into it.
You want to witness some real actual history? Back in the day, George and a few of the founding fathers knew the meaning of hard work and integrity. But then our country did lose its way. Bunch of young corporate banker types come along telling us we're all in the new normal. But you know what? Fuck those guys. They ain't got no integrity. The truth is, this country has always been people with integrity. Do you want some fucking integrity? Don't you wish everyone had some goddamn integrity? See, everyone can. Integrity we.
Oh my god, it's just like advertisement.
Yeah, advertisement seems to have gotten crazy. Like, we just saw one when we were watching Bake Off this evening that was using this cottagecore aesthetic, showing this very nice, well-to-do Englishman apparently picking the blackberries used in Ribena.
What? Are you joking?
Yeah. Like, no, like some like really middle class like guy.
I was
like
just
a cardigan,
yeah, that doesn't sound correct at all.
With the patterns, just going through like, oh yes, I take meticulous care over my blackberries, and then like is picking all the blackberries, and then some woman comes and tells him to hurry up, which gives it dispels the illusion that it's his blackberry farm, but that he's still a worker on the blackberry farm. Which
I was gonna say, did they make like 2 bottles of Ribena a year or what?
It's highly sus. Let's just be honest.
They would make some middle class white cottagecore looking motherfucker the face of the workers that pick the blackberries for Ribena is like just a slap in the face. It's just like so wrong. That's obviously not who does the work, for fuck's sake.
Well, I'm obviously I've got an affinity for the hippie movement. I'm sad that hippies are a bit of a joke these days. But like the V sign, I still feel like is like pretty universally just like a affirmation of goodwill. Yeah. And it's not really something that I would associate with finance. But like on the bus the other day, well, I wasn't on the bus, just to be totally fucking clear.
The ad
I didn't have
was,
a death
though.
wish, but the ad was on the bus. I was on the street. The bus went past me. I saw this like businesswoman in a suit, like on the side of this bus, doing the peace V sign with the slogan, "V is for investments," which investments doesn't even start with a fucking V. Let's just start with the obvious there. And two, I mean, V is for many things. The peace sign V is not for investments. I don't feel like when all the like Wolf of Wall Street guys are around to do a fucking deal and fuck a load of people over's like pensions and do all sorts of crazy, shady financial shit, that they're giving each other the peace sign. Like,
there's all kinds of passive aggressive ads like that around London. Like there was this one in the tube station that I saw where it was like this really middle class looking white lady, and she was like holding a glass of Prosecco and like laughing with her friends, and she was in this really fancy apartment, and it was like, oh, these luxury apartments start the revolution your way. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like no shady landlords, like lobby, gym, all of this stuff included. Join the renting revolution. And then I saw like a different one.
No.
I saw a different one that even repurposed like that sort of hammer and sickle imagery with the sort of with the striking lines out the back and stuff and everything around this service.
They've stolen communism.
They've stolen communism for TP.com, where you can come and rent a luxury 1-bedroom apartment for at least £1,800 a month.
Ew, that's a lot.
In Wembley. Who the fuck wants to live in Wembley? No one.
A 1-bedroom for over £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wembley's not even in zone 4, I believe.
Yeah.
Wembley? Where the fuck is Wembley? How the fuck are you charging how good is the apartment that I'm still going to sacrifice over an hour to commute into fucking central London to live in fucking Wembley? Like, I could get to fucking central as quickly like living outside of London is if I lived in fucking Wembley. That's how much of a nuisance it is.
For reference for Americans, that's about, I'm going to actually do the calculation then. Pounds to dollars. That's $2,342 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment that you have to commute. Your job is most likely in London if you're living.
If you're paying that kind of rent.
Exactly.
You're going to be working in London.
Yeah.
And you need to pay that just to join the renting revolution. So if you don't like your landlord, you better step up your fucking game. Come on.
You've fetishized communism to the point where you think that you need to live so far away from this awful capitalist city that you're willing to work in it, make enough money to pay for this apartment. It's so contradictory on every level, all the way down until you get to limbo, where time is moving so fucking slow and you have to like think about what you've done.
But then again, I wonder what you guys' take is on these sort of escapist fantasies that are coming up. I guess I don't know. I think it's sort of fun to indulge in, but mindfully.
I like the aesthetics, but I don't like the lifestyle thing.
No, but I mean, I understand, because I'm somebody who loves fiction and fantasy, and I've always been a bit of a imaginative, crazy. I mean, I call myself a fucking witch. Like, I love to escape into my imagination, especially when shit is like hard in the world, and I feel like there's nothing wrong.
So
with
not this year at all.
This year for sure. You
haven't been doing that at all this year.
No, not this year at all. No, I've been so involved in gritty reality.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
just doing paperwork primarily.
Yeah, just everything, paying bills, doing taxes, all of those things. But yeah, I feel like obviously it can be pernicious to sort of escape too deeply into an escapist fantasy, but I think it can provide a bit of cope and relief. Like, I'm somebody who's not totally against cope and relief. It's kind of why
no, I'm not either, as long as it's notated as cope or relief. If people understand it,
as long as people don't lionize it as a solution, there's nothing wrong with doing something that makes you feel better or gives you a reason to wake up in the morning feeling.
Self-care isn't bad. It's just not the solution.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the fact that this sort of it's not reactionary, I guess, in a sense, this aesthetic, but like the sort of willing to drop the hustle and bustle of city life and retreat and go back to something, a simpler something, is essentially still that vibe in the aesthetic. But like that is super in the consciousness of like everyone. There's like been so many different memes that have been like, that is the whole essence of that I've seen over the last few months that have come around. The dream one where it was like, hey, what are you on about? Coronavirus? Donald Trump's the what? Like, it's 2000, bro. We're gonna go and set up a next Doom LAN match. Like, chill.
I saw somebody tweet today. I saw somebody tweet today that if they could press a button, they would go back to the time when agriculture was developing and just sit around and make baskets all day.
The weirdest one I've seen is like, I don't know if you've seen this. It's like the Chad Garfield meme is the best way I can describe it. Where instead of I hate Mondays and being like this doomery like thing about like, having to work and everything, he like the original meme was like, I love Mondays, no more nagging wife, and it's like a butch hench Garfield like walking to work. But now like there's this like further sort of like again attached to that like nostalgia for a simpler time and all of that sort of like, I guess, further reactionary sort of like feeling towards it, where it's like, oh, I love Mondays, back to pastoral living in like the green fields or whatever the fuck it was, and he's just like there on some like farm with like being the Chad Garfield. It's just sort of like, this is a really weird fucking time, and it's coming out with some absolute gems of memes, and I feel like the advertisements are becoming memes themselves almost. I don't know if they're self-aware of that.
Advertisements are a form of meme. They're an image or iconography that's designed to make you take action in the world. It's a form of magic, if we're going to get all weird and occult on it. But then also, like, I feel like a lot of these people who are like, I would love to live on a Tegrity farm, like, these are like really lazy like online people that don't do shit, and like they wouldn't survive 5 fucking minutes.
That would not, frankly, they wouldn't work on Tegrity Farm. They would want to live on Tegrity Farm. That's what they want, a free ride at Tegrity Farm.
Yeah, they would want to live on Tegrity Farm and do all the cutesy cottagecore things while like hiring someone from a lower class to basically do all the work for them.
Which is not even how it works. Like these people are like downwardly mobile, like, frankly, like, to use liberal class, upper middle class to middle class people. Like, These are people who are not in a position to expect that out of life, but that's what they would definitely want this to be. Like the fantasy is all of the good things from the thing and none of the work.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of
What I'm saying is all these kids don't know what they got.
old man Peter. It reminds me of it reminds me a little bit of Marie Antoinette, because she was the first cottagecore queen, because she basically built this sort of like mini palace called Le Petit Trianon, which was basically like her cottagecore fantasy, where there were like dairy maids and like little sheep wearing like bells and, you know, fucking chickens and croissants, and like it was basically made in the guise of like a peasant's home, basically this sort of rustic cottagecore thing. And it was one of the things that the French revolutionaries used to demonize her, because it was like she was playing at being a peasant during the time where peasants were actually like starving.
She's fetishizing
Yeah,
it.
she's fetishizing it. She created this sort of charmed vision of rural life, when rural life is actually pretty harsh and like brutal. But there's a thin line
She is
between...
acting like it is okay out here. It is not. It is shit. I fucking hate it out here.
There's like a thin line between cope and trying to sort of do things to, like, you know, lift your spirits or stir your imagination, and just sort of escaping into this sort of Oedipal womb. And I don't really know where that line is. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I still think the most surreal advert I've seen was probably this week, actually, and it was the Kanye's presidential
Oh my god!
advert.
Wait,
have you seen that?
What?
Yeah,
That
'cause
is-
he's still running.
I thought that was over.
No, he's still running, and he's on the
No,
ballot
he's-
in like 11 states, apparently.
Oh my gosh, you should have just voted.
He
for
hasn't
Kanye.
put a lot of effort into it, but somehow he's managed to keep it going.
Well,
And the
let's be
ad
real.
itself is wild.
The ad is wild, but let's be real. It's more coherent than Joe Biden getting in a fucking Corvette and nearly crashing and then trying to like run around looking virile. Like, it is way more coherent than that.
I'll give you that. It doesn't change the fact that it's Kanye West. However, yes, it absolutely is better than people are asking me how I'm vetting my VP. And they look at how I'm actually vetting. It's a Corvette.
Oh my god.
Vetting.
Is that...
Like, that was a real ad. He did that for real.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe it. It's so fucking weird. But welcome to Low Society. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to us on Apple iTunes, please give us 5 stars. That shit helps us. If you are a person of means, even if it's means that are... No, sorry. If you are a person of means, then please give us some of those means on Patreon for bonus episodes. Also, you know, visit our Reddit, visit our Twitter, visit all of our different places where we are online. We're pretty much everywhere. Say hi to us. Also, Ashley's not here today. She is in Scotland with Fanny Duff. So she'll be back with us next episode, if you guys are wondering why there's no Scottish voice in the show. So yeah, moving on. Virgil, Texas, Brianna Greyjoy and Noam Chomsky got into a slap fight / debate about whether voting lesser evil is appropriate thing to do or something that is a waste of effort. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that, Peter?
Noom Chompy did have a lot to say about voting and climate change.
Noom Chompy is a new one. I've not heard that one before.
Noom Chompy. I've made it up just now.
I've heard gnome as in like garden gnome Chomsky.
The secret
I've
of
heard,
gnome.
like, yeah, all kinds of shit, but I've never heard Noom Chew Me or whatever the fuck you just
Noom
said.
Chompy.
Noom Chompy.
The Chompster, he decided that he was going to say to everybody that it was really important. It's basically like an electoralism argument. It's the same electoralism argument that he got in trouble for like 5 months ago. And all of the people who were freshly angry about Bernie losing were like, Noam Chomsky's a liberal. Like, it was the same argument. He put the same. He's like, listen, we've got to vote against Donald Trump because everybody's going to be under 6 feet of water if we don't do that, because Biden is somehow going to be markedly different from that. And here's the problem with that argument. He's not. Like, he might put forward a plan that sounds very different than that, but like, will anything materially change from what Donald Trump has done?
Biden like backed fracking recently, didn't he? Like,
yeah,
that, like just came out.
Okay, so his fracking plan is essentially pro fracking, but the pushback I've gotten on saying that is Joe Biden would ban any new licenses for fracking on federal land. But if you ask me, like that's dumb. Like when people are like, oh, but there's not going to be any new fracking on federal land. That means he's reducing fracking. A, no new fracking. So the fracking will continue. Mm-hmm. And B, federal land is always for sale. It's never not for sale. Like all you have to do is contact the Bureau of Land Management about a parcel of land and say, I'm interested in that. And there is a chance you will be given an offer to buy it. And if you are a corporation with a shitload of influence and a force of lobbyists in the U.S. Congress, in the ears of everybody who makes $174,000 a year, which is a lot of money, but not a lot of money. Like, frankly, they like the idea of making more money than that a year. Like Nancy Pelosi didn't amass a fortune of $120 million making $174,000 a year.
That's for sure.
No. So like the idea of not having any new fracking on federal land, it's just going to incentivize the selling of federal land. Like it's going to utterly instead of leasing federal land to these fracking companies, we're going to be selling it, and therefore the accountability will be gone. So it's definitely like, it sounds better. Like no new fracking on federal land. That's great. No, they're going to reduce the amount of it's not. It's just a very highly specific rule that they're going to create that people will be able to get around, which will ultimately in the long run be worse.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of, it's like a classic politician move, because I remember when the Tories made a claim that they had increased the number of nurses in the NHS by like so many thousand or something, or would do that. And like, and it's all lined out in this budget, yada, yada, yada. And then when you actually broke it down, it was that they were basically accounting for the fact that so many thousands of nurses leave the NHS every year, and that they were basically trying to stop those nurses leaving. And so it wasn't that they had actually added any nurses, as that they were counting the ones that were going to leave that then apparently wouldn't as added nurses, as more resources, which is like
that's exactly what they fucking do.
50% of people buy it, which is what I don't fucking get. Like 50% of people buy the spin. Like,
well, it's because they aren't given the information that makes the spin invalid. That's the problem.
Noam Chomsky is somebody who isn't an ill-educated person.
No.
Which is
Noam Chomsky is one of the foremost intellectuals of our time. He wrote Manufacturing Consent, and now he's literally doing it. Which is
what sort of perplexes me about the positions that he's taken on this form of electoralism in recent years. And I haven't seen the debate between him and Brianna Joy Gray and Virgil and you know, I don't really have like opinions about any of these people.
It's the same thing he got in trouble for 5 months ago that everybody was angry about, but the same people who were angry then are like, actually he's making a good point. You're gonna contradict Noam Chomsky, the foremost intellectual. It's fucking bullshit. Like, you don't have ideals. You don't stand by your ideals, people.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, all I can really take away from this is that I'm not sure that Captain Fantastic would be walking around at the end of the year festival singing Uncle Gnome's name in celebration over his recent actions and political claims.
No, absolutely not.
That's all I would say. I think, you know, what's his name, the actor that plays him?
Viggo
Mortensen. You know, Viggo Mortensen and Captain Fantastic himself, he would be shunning Uncle Gnome right now.
That movie was just to say that movie was total cottagecore cope for sure.
The thing is with this, like the thought that to contradict the Chomster here is it's like anti-voting Biden, which like I don't think that. I think that you can vote for Biden and understand how bullshit his argument is here. Like, there's a slew of reasons I've seen people who are genuine who are voting for Biden. It literally has nothing to do with it. The argument that is being posited by Brianna Greyjoy and Virgil Texas is that this voting shit, it doesn't have that kind of effect. We need to start taking things beyond the realm of electoralism. And the fact that we're not doing that is precisely why the left is so rudderless. It has no power. It's not attempting to consolidate any power. That's the problem.
Part of my issue with their framing, though, is it seemed as if they were opposing the lesser evil voting argument on identity-based lines rather than shared class interest lines. They were sort of framed it in a way that, like, voting for lesser evil politics is somehow, it's bad for minorities and this and that. And even though that's true, there are much broader reasons why lesser evil voting is bullshit.
Oh, absolutely.
Which was sort of why I kind of gave the way that they framed their argument the side eye in that regard.
It's the framing, because from a class perspective, what they're saying is absolutely correct. It's just that they didn't use class framing, and they should have, frankly, because frankly, what we need to be doing is creating a universalist, materialist movement. We have to get people together and fucking, like, the understanding that, like, the electoralism is a dead end needs, like, we're at a point where we need to fucking get that. Like, you can vote for Biden all you want, and you're going to end up maybe delaying some bad shit for some people, but ultimately you're going to get the same thing, because Trump has been ultimately complicit in the same neoliberal program that's gone on for the last 40 to 50 years. And it hasn't changed. You want, like, there have been a few aesthetic changes, a few, like, specific liberatory changes, but there has been, the overall program has not changed. Yes, he hasn't started any new wars, but he hasn't gotten out of any old wars either.
There's so much, like, fake integrity around democracy in the West. Like,
absolutely.
The fucking, like, when even if you take politics and politicians and, I don't want to vote for the piece of shit, I want to vote for the turd, whatever the fuck. Like, if you take all of that aside, the actual function of the political mechanism of how you vote for someone and how you're represented is fundamentally skewed in a way that will make it very difficult to change without something fucking radical happening.
Absolutely.
And that goes down to, like, the gerrymandering in the states and the electoral college and all of that kind of bullshit.
Those two are, like, just those on their own are enough to say, like, the United States is not a democracy, because that stuff alters the outcome to such an extent, it's ridiculous.
The same thing with the first past the post system in the UK. Like, the whole, if the entire mechanism in which you express your political opinion, no matter what it is fundamentally broken, then how can you have a coherent and a democracy that has any kind of integrity? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like
I know exactly what you mean.
If people had at least that integrity and faith in the systems and in the mechanisms like that, regardless of the politicians involved and what they're trying to skew at the moment, there would be at least more. I feel like more people willing to engage in politics in a non-fucking polarized, crazy way. Like, it would be, like, much more accessible, and people wouldn't feel like they're constantly getting fucking gypped. So there wouldn't be this anger around it. There would be I feel like there'd be more of a discussion element to politics rather than this sort of fighting around it.
The problem, though, would be that if you actually had voting that had some impact on the system itself, then you could change things with voting, but we don't have that. And that's the problem. Like, they're literally saying things like, you need to vote for Biden to save democracy. And it's like, bitch, did you see the fucking Democratic primary? Like, it ain't democracy. Like, our votes didn't fucking matter because they just rearranged the competition so that the votes couldn't win. Exactly. It's literally, and they do that they've done that for hundreds of years. The Electoral College is a version of that. Like, Trump lost by 3 million votes. 3 million fucking votes. That's a lot of votes. And yet we got Donald Trump for 4 years because he ran a campaign that understood where he needed to win to get the Electoral College. And instead the Democrats were like, the states that have the right morals will vote for us, and California, which is the most progressive state, will definitely turn in the most votes for us. And it turned out to fucking not work, because it's set up against that. Like it's so fucking frustrating. Like I could my wheels are spinning at this point.
It is. Well, I actually think that cottagecore might be a solution to these systemic problems, because we should just get rid of all of this fucking voting and bullshit and just have the candidates do the Great British Bake Off. What kind of cake do you think that Trump would make, and what kind of cake do you think that Joe Biden would make?
I think it would turn into the Great British Fuck Off if that was the case.
I think Trump is a meringue guy. I think he would do something with meringue.
It would be the Great American Bake Off, so it would be very different, and it would be
Baking
interesting. It would be the Great American Baking Show. God, that's got a ring to it.
Patrons, check out our bonus episode this week for why we're laughing about that.
What do you think? I think he would make something gaudy, like a millionaire cake, like something with a lot of salted caramel.
I feel like he would try and do something like, I don't know, because he hasn't got any
that edible gold
talent, so I just don't feel
the edible gold. The edible gold, the gold plate shit that they do on fucking everything now.
You do like a croque-en-bouche where it's like extravagant and crazy and rich and like got all this like crystallized sugar over the top of it, and like, you know, all the crazy like,
and then he'd write
stuff
off the act of making the cake on his taxes.
and he'd like spell Trump in like solidified chocolate around the top of it, or some crazy shit, or just have like a big capital T on the top, or like some mad thing.
I feel like our Uncle Joe would try to make something rustic and like even more like
I'm from Scranton. You know, I'm gonna make a Corvette car. The cake. I'm gonna make a cake that's shaped like a Corvette.
Oh my god.
Joe Biden would definitely make apple pie because he's a fucking boomer, whereas Trump would definitely make something
Listen up, fat. I'm making an apple pie whether you like it or not.
Whereas Trump would make something quite nouveau rich and like fucking gaudy, like a I think I've nailed it.
Like croque-en-bouche.
Yeah, like croque-en-bouche. I
think you got it, yeah.
Like he would put all the gold leaf on the croque-en-bouche, like Trump Tower of croque-en-bouche, basically.
Like instead of you know how you'd have like dark chocolate on the profiteroles or whatever, like he would instead do like fucking gold sauce. He would find a way to make just gold sauce to have on the top.
As a bit of nostalgia, he would do the Trump Taj Mahal as a cake. Even though it failed, like people would try to remind him that it failed, but he'd be like, listen, it was the most luxurious casino out there.
Oh my god. Okay, Peter, for your impressions, you need to do Trump's cake trash talk, and you need to do Biden's cake trash talk. Go.
Well, we'd get a listen up, fat, I feel like. Yeah. My impression of Biden is not good, though. Like, it's just okay. Me talking in a slight accent.
It's possible. Your Trump is pretty
It's the stuttering. It's mainly the stuttering. And the,
go on.
Hey, listen up, fat. No, it's going to turn into Rick Sanchez.
Do Trump first and then build up to your Biden.
The Trump Taj Mahal cake is the absolute most luxurious cake out there. Many people are saying that this is the best cake. It has the best frosting, the most gold leaf. And then he would dance to the YMCA.
Oh my god!
Did you see that clip?
I saw that clip. What is going on?
It's so amazing. He's dancing like SpongeBob in the band episode. It's the same fucking dance. I'm not fucking joking.
I've seen it. I saw it because you shared it on Twitter this morning, and you were like, "It's okay to be happy." And like
I said, this is what I said. I said, he seems so happy. This is the real Donald Trump.
Oh my god! Oh, is he healed from his COVID sickness?
He's dancing. I've never seen him dance. He's so happy.
That little one he's doing with both the hands. That's like
it's the SpongeBob. Yes,
it's like the dance that Kenny does when he's dancing in South Park. He's like going like this. Like it's the same. It's when he's wearing his little light blue suit. Oh. That's like the same dance that Kenny does.
Why is he actually does? Sorry, go on.
He's so happy. I think that there's a possibility he might lose the presidential election, and I think he's actually kind of happy.
Look, even if he does lose, I'm interested for him to become like the boomer, like Dalai Lama.
I want him to lose. I want him to lose, and I want him to take Don Imus's place as the radio man, or possibly just a podcast.
I think he's basically going to become a government in exile, and he's going to retire to his like fucking mansion in Florida, and it's going to become like an ashram, and he's going to be like the conspiracy boomer, like Dalai Lama, and he's going to record it. Yeah, Yes,
and he's going to sell
record
it to us.
Yes, it's going to be a dope podcast. Like he's going to,
I'm going to subscribe to it. I'm not fucking joking for a second either. Whatever it costs, I'm fucking in.
You know what? If he loses, I can't really see him doing like the standard like Bush or like, you know, David Cameron affair where you go off and like paint paintings or like just write your memoirs or some really like standard thing. I could definitely see Trump starting a podcast, like maybe like give it a year after he's left office, and then he's just like, yeah, let's get everyone thinking about me again. Come on, I'm fucking bored here. And then he would just start his podcast and it will be fucking crazy. And then like he'll get like people crazy, people like Mike Tyson on there and like
my god.
Oh my god. Mike Tyson and Trump.
That would be, would you not listen to an hour of Mike Tyson and Donald Trump talking?
I would listen to 8 hours of it.
Oh
like
my God.
there's no chance I would stop.
Did you hear the really freaky thing that Mike Tyson said during his last appearance on Joe Rogan?
No, what did he say?
He was like asking him because obviously he thinks Joe is really knowledgeable about fighting and everything. And he's like, "What do you call it? What do you call it, Joe? When I do violent and when I hurt someone, I get hard.
Oh my god!
I get erect. What do you call that?" And then literally Joe is just so taken back by it. He's like,
Oh
just
my
like,
god!
It's not a thing that I want to talk about. Actually,
Oh my god,
that's what I call it.
That's terrifying. I'm sure he did it like he did it as like a joke. Like I don't think he was being.
It's very difficult to tell when that guy's joking because he has got such a deadpan face and like his delivery is.
He comes off as sincere whether he's joking or not. Too.
Absolutely.
He's one of that type of person.
You know how I know that Chomsky was shady? You know how I knew it? It was because Ali G pranked him and he was so rude to Ali G. He didn't take it in good humor. Because, like when Sacha Baron Cohen used to go around like basically as Ali G and he would interview politicians and say dumb shit.
Yeah.
Noam Chomsky basically reacted like, "Oh, get this idiot out of my sight," kind of thing. And I was like, Chomsky, like he didn't, I thought he would have some levity or humor, but he reacted in this like, I'm too important an academic to deal with this buffoon kind of way. And I was like, I don't approve.
Well, to be fair, when Bernie had to deal with him on This Is America or his latest season or whatever,
Bernie was nice about it.
He was nice and he was patient, but he definitely wasn't humorous about it. He was like, he almost then just by the end of it was so befuddled by his character's stupidity.
Noam Chomsky told him to fuck off, like in like no succinct terms, basically. In succinct terms, he was basically like fuck off to him. Whereas Bernie kind of was like trying his best to like indulge the fucker.
Trump's appearance on that Ali G show is like one of my favorite celebrity appearances.
He gave him a belt. Didn't he give him a belt?
No, like Ali G pitched him fucking.
He pitched him ice cream gloves. He pitched him
the gloves to fucking eat ice cream with, and then Trump walked away like, actually, that's a very smart idea. I really like that.
He was like,
I actually don't have a problem. That's an all right idea. I like that.
It was hilarious.
No, but that's what Trump does. Trump will always like put on the face that like whoever is in front of him is a genius. And like if you've seen that one photo where like all of the evangelicals were in his office while he was running, like they were all putting their hands on his face and shit. And they're like, and like apparently in that book, one of the books that just came out, like apparently what he said after all the evangelicals lost was, "Did you see that shit?" I laughed so hard. I'm like,
oh my god.
It's good shit.
In other news, in the UK, there was this like really weird ad that the government put out that was targeted towards like artists and creatives. Because in lieu of COVID, obviously there's a lot of defunding happening and suffering happening in the arts communities and different sort of art centers are being shut down and no one's really patroning the arts anymore. Would you like to talk a bit about the what this ad entailed, Jake?
Yeah, so it had the one that I think got the biggest reaction was this this little or like teenage black girl that was putting on or taking off her ballet shoes. And then it said something like, Leona's next job could be in cyber. And that's just
Which
fucking
for
depressing.
Americans, that's what tech is in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, yeah. So is that your next job could be in IT or whatever. Your next job could be, I can't remember what a couple
In
of those
STEM.
ones were. But yeah, exactly. So, and I think this was like the top comment on like the Facebook page that I saw share this. Literally said, yes, let's employ a photographer, a graphic designer, everything that goes into like, all these creative industries that would go into creating a massive ad campaign around how you should give up your creative industries and try to retrain to do something else. And it was just like such a big slap in the face. And I know that the hospitality industry is obviously really hurting at the moment. And
yes,
those people, but I feel like it's a very similar thing to like in America, where there's sort of like, there's this whole stimulus check thing going on, like whether people are going to get any more support through the rest of coronavirus or whether they need to just fucking tough it out or unlock all the lockdowns and just let everyone get back to swing of things and just
go out in the middle of the road and fuck and just everybody fucks,
lick windows
and gets COVID and dies.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were fucking at least.
And it's just this ongoing debate. And there was a whole list of companies that then received a lot of like the grant funding for stuff like that. And I mean, there was some sort of snarky comments made around maybe something like a resident advisor getting like I think nearly £1 million or something when they're a journalist magazine. I'm not being funny, but how much are they really the heart and soul of the live music industry in the UK? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I feel like that money could have been put to keep all these engineers, live engineers, all these others. And it's not even to be like, that's a stupid message as well to say retrain, because like, I think it was Billie Eilish recently and a shitload of podcasts, like all sorts of people are doing these ticketed like, live streams and stuff now. And so, I think it broke down to something like, she has 100 and something million.
I'm thinking something's coming to my brain right now.
Well, I mean, so
all these people are doing these ticketed live streams. What?
it broke down to sort of like, if you did the maths or something, like if, Billie Eilish has like 100 million, whatever, YouTube subscribers, if like 0.1% of those people bought a ticket for $30 that gave them access to exclusive merch and some other little things and whatever to incentivize them to buy a ticket for this thing, then you've got like millions of dollars of profit right
absolutely
there from that one live stream. And I mean, obviously that's using an extreme
and we all
case
know what it takes
and whatever. But, I mean, it's a model that's worth exploring. And so instead of saying retrain these people, why not put funding into making infrastructure around this sort of technology available for the next few years, because we might be stuck in this fucking situation for a little while.
This may be what live shit is for a while.
That would be kind of my approach to how I would like restructure the funding and doing stuff like that within the hospitality industry. But that's like I'm a fuckhead that I'm who the fuck what the fuck do I know?
They basically are like, oh, you went to school for creative things like graphic design. You're a fucking scum, and you should be treated like scum, and you should feel like scum. And it's really sad because England would be an absolutely unbearable, barren wasteland of a place to live if it wasn't for the fucking creative innovators that have like made this place habitable.
And I think there's just like an extra bit of irony around all of this at the moment, because we've had like, massive failures with our test and trace app for COVID. And that's largely because some woman that ran TalkTalk was put in charge of developing this thing for the NHS, and so billions of pounds, I believe, were dished out to just so happens people that own stocks within the Tory party, they all own stocks in these companies that are now getting awarded these contracts to sort of develop these apps that don't even work and don't even serve the public good. And so this woman's not even fucking qualified to run a over multi-billion-dollar program, yet you're telling artists and people that have been the fucking bread and butter of one of the largest industries and in terms of GDP and all that shit. I hate all of those fucking statistics, but if you look at it, entertainment and live fucking entertainment especially is a huge draw.
Well, I mean, if we have to live in capitalism, and technically, the creative industry does justify itself in capitalism. Like it needs to be said, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Boris Johnson then made the argument a few weeks ago about how about how it's actually the private sector that has been keeping us safe through this time. And he basically was like, is it the government that gives you masks? Is it the government that provides you with food and goodies in your homes? No, it is the companies. And I think it's because people think he went soft after he got coronavirus. And he's like, no, I'm still a stiff upper lip Tory, the private sector. And it's just like, yeah.
Why, everyone? Great. I'm a piece of shit still. You're not to think that I've become good.
Basically,
dude, there was this I was in the taxi on the way back from Central the other day, and there was a clip of him talking in Parliament on the LBC, and literally you couldn't make this shit up. It was unfucking real what was coming out of his mouth. Like, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but it was like having Austin Powers as your prime minister for a second. It was crazy. Literally, he was like, "There's some talk of people thinking that I've lost my mojo due to my recent bout with coronavirus."
Did he say the word mojo?
Yes, he said the word mojo in Parliament.
Yeah, he did.
As our prime minister,
he did.
Unironically. Wow. He did, because I think he does literally think of himself as like an international man of mystery. I think that's how Boris Johnson sees himself. But
our president over here says a lot of very dumb things, but to literally, whether intentionally or unintentionally, draw parallels between yourself and Austin Powers, that's something right there. That's pretty amazing. And outside of politics, go ahead, draw parallels. Austin Powers is fun, but we're talking about the leader of your country.
I think the only way that it could have been worse is if he tried to imbibe the vibes of a different Michael Myers character with the Love Guru. If he started...
Oh God, yes. Okay, so if anybody references the Love Guru, that, I said, it's fine to compare yourself to Austin Powers, outside of politics. It's not fine to compare yourself to the Love Guru anywhere. There's nowhere the Love Guru works.
Oh God, they made fun of Boris Johnson on Bake Off because Channel 4 has this weird kind of lib lefty spin at the moment that they're really pushing. And but the thing is, because it was on the BBC before, it was this is a British institution. Bake Off is a British institution. How could you? And they made fun of him in the opening of the first episode, where they basically made him a caricature of him looking wishy-washy and being I'm going to consult the experts, and saying yes to everything everyone says, and having no real position or opinion on everything. And then fucking Channel 4 was flooded with Karens who were how dare you criticize the prime minister at this time in our history? You're trying to cause anarchy and chaos. It was pretty fucking crazy.
It was the most mild joke ever as well. It was literally it was literally Matt Lucas going, bake, don't bake. I mean, bake at home if you're at home. Don't bake at home if you're at home. And you're that was the joke. And you're that was funny a little bit, and it wasn't even that funny. It was very tame. But that still warranted hundreds or thousands of fucking complaints.
How could that get a backlash? How could that get a backlash?
Because it's the whole idea that, because, BBC is they never really criticized the government. And I think it was a big shock for the people who had migrated over from BBC to Channel 4 to watch Bake Off to see,
oh, dear me.
Actual criticism.
They're grabbing their ties and adjusting them. Oh, no. Oh. It seems to me as though they're making some criticism of the British government, and I'm not sure about that.
You guys think that you guys have it bad in America, but this country, we're circling the drain right there with you.
I feel I feel like you guys have actually sort of picked up our leftovers with that you could work in cyber campaign. I feel like you're about 6 years ago, there was this big push to learn to code was our version of this.
Oh, yes, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This awful liberal, like
all the boomer moms were like yelling at their fail sons that are like at home and being like, learn to code, Jeffrey, it's the future. Like, I remember that was like a whole thing in America during the time. And now that's our thing, where all the artists who have trained and all the technical people who have trained are now basically seen as the fail sons of the UK. And they're like, go and get a proper job in IT. Like, it's, the learn to code thing is definitely something that we've pilfered from your side of the pond, but like I feel like I don't understand why that specific thing. I mean, is there a massive need for IT workers? Is that a sort of void that needs filling in terms of the job market? Like, why are they trying to push people?
Well, I would say that, like, to some extent they anticipate this I think it's kind of the neoliberal utopian like end game. It's kind of where they think like everybody should be working in there. Like this pandemic, like you've said, is basically the neoliberal utopia. Everybody should be at home on a Zoom call working from their house, atomized, no chance of them like unionizing or talking to other people or having some sort of like thought about where things are and how we could possibly change it, because you're stuck in your house, your office, all that shit. I think that it's just kind of like, in so many words, they wanted the pandemic to happen, but didn't know it would require a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
It brings a whole new meaning to there is no alternative.
Yep.
Yes,
yep,
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think that's where learn to code and you could work in cyber is coming from. Like it's
big time.
It's like we want you to be incels. We want you to be involuntarily celibate in your house alone.
Yep. It's true. It is true. It's the new sort of there is no alternative decree, and it's crazy how the acceleration of neoliberalism is working in both of our countries and just turning everything into this like crazy fucking hellscape. But that's why you got to do a communism. That's why you have to fucking,
and not the revolutionary rent thing, the rent revolution thing.
No,
not that.
No, not that. Spreading class consciousness and unifying with people who have shared interests with you is the only way out of this mess.
And remember, everybody who is not owning class has shared interests with you, whether they want to admit it or not.
Exactly.
Yes, materialist Marxist point, insert here.
That's like the low society formula. We go on about rubbish for an hour and then we make a huge sweeping point about fucking Marxism and material.
But it's true. Like, because that's the ultimate point that we need to be making. We have to be like building a base of materialist concern and creating the means to exert power on the structure to the point where it breaks. Like, that's literally what we got to do for all of this shit.
If you listen to very smart, older people than us, like Richard Wolff, that are like actual economists and stuff, and have studied how like systems of like economies and shit actually work, they're like super convinced that this is like all of the kind of pressure points needed to show the end of a system, essentially, like the ecological.
You could call them crypto accelerationists for that.
I mean, I don't want to.
No, I agree. I entirely agree. Everybody says like you're an accelerationist, but I'm not. Like, again, this fucking pandemic has accelerated things much more than any group of people could possibly intentionally do. Like, it's just
it accelerated the conditions.
Yes, exactly.
Accelerated the demand. I still feel like I'm waiting for that moment, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like the conditions where we need all of these sort of like, systems of socialists or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like, policies to take care of people during this fucking time and everything are like super needed. But there's still this massive pushback of like, no, like, let's not give people shit for free, and like let's let the fucking people that are gonna die, and like let's get out of our house. So
I mean, I agree with Jake, because the Red Scare shit that's going on both the liberal and on both the liberal and conservative sides of the political spectrum shows that the vast majority of people are terrified of anything that even has the word communism attached to it. I mean, what was Trump using as a bludgeon to beat Biden with? What was Biden dodging and deflecting the whole time during those debates? Like, that Red Scare shit is still very much part of our culture. I mean, didn't you see the Simpsons episode clip this week? Where the Simpsons basically did this whole Red Scare thing where they had Bernie Sanders and he had like goons who were beating people up or whatever, and he was like, I neither condone or what was it? Sorry. He was like, I neither condone. Sorry. He was like, I neither condone or approve this or whatever, while his goons were like beating people up. Like, there's a legitimate like Red Scare going on. So I agree with
Which,
Jake
like, Bernie Sanders, the idea that Bernie Sanders is anything other than like a social democrat who is like appalled by all of that shit it's silly, but like at the same time,
the Red Scare shit is going on. So even though our material conditions do sort of push towards the idea that we need a more materially focused base for the working class, we still have a ton of Cold War baggage to dig through, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Biden was gloating. I beat the socialists.
They beat the socialists. Yeah, exactly.
That's who he thinks. That's the message he thinks that most of America is going to be responding to. Is I beat the socialists. Like, that
it's
says
because
it all to me.
What has the left done to the working class? What thing has like, we've done everything, like the left has done everything it possibly can to alienate working people, poor people, and people who are in a position that doesn't seem justifiable by the shit that they put out there. Like, it's all this. I mean, I don't not think that people have real concerns based on their identity. However, I do think that every time they say, like, no, you're a white male and you can't have any problems. You're just an incel. You're probably going to shoot up a movie theater after you watch The Joker. You're a terrible person and you can't possibly have these problems. That's bullshit. Like, the amount of poverty that is going on in not only like the UK and the US, in like what you would consider non-marginalized communities, which is bullshit because class is a marginalization vector. Shut the fuck up. We have to start understanding that while, yes, identities do experience worse versions of these things, these are universalist concerns that everybody is dealing with.
Yeah.
Racism exacerbates it. Yes, that's absolutely true. But there are poor white mentally ill loners, out there. And there's a reason why people are so fucking pissed off all the time. There's a reason why nobody wants to be around other people. It's not because that people are evil. It's because they're fucking fed up with everything. They wake up and they can't fucking imagine how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to buy food, how they're going to do, like, that's the reason why people are pissed off. And yes, the racism is used to keep these people in certain places. Like, there was a clip floating around again from Bernie Sanders' New York Times interview where they're like, being poor causes racism, and he goes, yeah. Like, he fucking Chad Yes'd it. He literally fucking Chad Yes'd the New York Times, and they were appalled. But it's the truth. Like, you are vulnerable to a dumb explanation of why you're in a bad situation when nobody's giving you anything as to why your fucking life is terrible. And they're telling you that you're the bad guy because you believe this dumb thing that you've been told is true your entire fucking life, a la racism or transphobia or homophobia or whatever.
Well, on that class war note, thank you guys for listening to Low Society. We really appreciate your continued listening to us, your patronage, your support of us on all of our social media platforms. We love you guys very much, and stay sane. And if you need to indulge in a little bit of try. And if you need to indulge in a bit of cottagecore cope, hit me up on Patreon. We'll play some Animal Crossing.
Or if you want to release that rage, hit me up and we'll play some Warzone and Squadrons and annihilate the rebel forces. Well, no, I would be the rebel forces annihilating the Empire, obviously. I actually prefer being the rebels, not even just because, politics, but just fucking the ships are better. The TIE fighters don't have shields. The TIE fighters don't have shields, and I can't fuck with that. It's just, yeah. But anyway, thank you for listening.
See, I gotta play this Squadrons game.
It's great, man. I definitely recommend it. It's really fun. It's really, especially if you've got like a few people on Discord, like all in a squad together. Like, then I could imagine it being insanely fun. So
yeah, I'll have to get it and I'll hit you up about it.
Definitely, man. I'd love that. I've been looking for someone to play it with, so that'd be awesome.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, thank you for listening to Low Society.
Yeah,
we will catch you again later in the week. Peace.
Bye.